It's 1 a.m. You're 23 years old. You've just left your girlfriend's house in Lexington, and you're riding home to Concord under a bright, nearly full moon. You don't know it yet, but in the next 30 minutes, you're going to save the American Revolution. Because the man everyone will remember, the man whose name will become a poem, a painting, a brand of silverware, is about to be captured at gunpoint on the road in front of you. Your name is Samuel Prescott, and history is about to forget you. Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. You learned this story in school, or you saw it in a movie, or you've just absorbed it from being American. Paul Revere, the lone patriot silversmith, watches for a lantern signal from the Old North Church. 1 if by land, 2 if by sea. He sees the signal. He leaps onto his horse. He gallops through the night shouting, "The British are coming!" to every Middlesex village and farm. He rides all the way to Concord. He saves the Revolution. It's a perfect story. Brave, simple, American. It's also wrong, almost all of it. And here's the part nobody tells you. The poem wasn't written in 1775. It was written 85 years later, in December 1860, by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. The same month South Carolina seceded from the Union. The country was about to tear itself apart, and Longfellow needed a symbol. A lone man on a horse, a unifying American myth. He didn't need the truth. He needed a hero, so he invented one. Here's what actually happened, and why it matters. The stakes that night were absolute. If the British seized the weapons stockpiled at Concord and captured Samuel Adams and John Hancock in Lexington, there's no Lexington, no Concord, no revolution. The whole thing dies before sunrise. Everything depended on the warning getting through. 3 things you've been told are wrong. Paul Revere did not shout, "The British are coming." There was not 1 rider. There were 3. And Paul Revere did not reach Concord. He was captured at gunpoint, his horse was confiscated, and he walked home in the dark. The man who actually finished the ride? The 23-year-old you met 30 seconds ago. Here's how it really happened. Start with the words, because this is the lie everyone repeats. Paul Revere never said, "The British are coming." Think about it for 2 seconds. Everyone in Massachusetts in 1775 was British. They were British subjects. Shouting, "The British are coming" would have made no sense to anyone who heard it. What Revere actually said, and we know this because he wrote it down himself, was completely different. When Sergeant Monroe, guarding the house where Adams and Hancock were sleeping, told Revere to keep the noise down, Revere shot back, "Noise. You'll have noise enough before long. The regulars are coming out." The regulars. That was the term. British regular army soldiers, as distinct from the colonial militia. And Revere wasn't shouting it from horseback. He was whispering it at doors, knocking, waking captains and militia leaders 1 house at a time. British patrols were everywhere on that road. Secrecy was life or death. A man galloping through villages screaming at the top of his lungs would have been arrested or shot inside of an hour. Now, the second lie. Revere wasn't alone. He wasn't even the first. Around 9 o'clock that night, Dr. Joseph Warren, the head of Patriot Intelligence in Boston, dispatched William Dawes, a 30-year-old tanner, over the land route across Boston Neck. Dawes left a full hour before Revere. Revere went second, crossing the Charles River by rowboat, slipping past the 64-gun British warship HMS Somerset in the moonlight. His friends muffled the oars with cloth. Legend says a woman lowered a flannel petticoat from a window for the job. In Charlestown, Revere borrowed a horse from Deacon John Larkin and set off around 11 o'clock. And the third lie, the lanterns. Longfellow's poem makes it sound like Revere was standing on the Charlestown shore, waiting for a signal to tell him what to do. The truth is the opposite. Revere arranged the signal himself. He told Robert Newman, the church sexton, to hang the lanterns from the steeple of the Old North Church, Boston's tallest structure, as a backup plan in case Revere couldn't get out of the city. 2 lanterns meant the British were crossing the Charles by boat. The signal wasn't for Revere, it was from Revere. Revere reached Lexington around midnight. He warned Adams and Hancock. Dawes arrived about 30 minutes later. They decided to press on together toward Concord, where the colonial militia had stockpiled weapons. And then, out of the darkness, a third rider appears. He's not a son of liberty. He's not a soldier. He's a country doctor riding home from his girlfriend's house at 1 a.m. Her name was Lydia Mulligan. His name is Samuel Prescott. He's 23 years old. And in the next 2 hours, he will do what Paul Revere cannot. Revere described Prescott as a high son of liberty. Because Prescott was a local doctor, known and trusted in this countryside, people were more likely to believe his warning than 2 strangers from Boston. He joined the ride. 3 men now rode toward Concord. They made it about halfway. In Lincoln, Massachusetts, about halfway to Concord, the road narrowed. Revere saw 2 figures on horseback in the shadows. Then 4, then more, emerging from behind trees, pistols drawn. It was a British mounted patrol, officers sent from Boston specifically to intercept alarm riders. Their commander was Major Edward Mitchell of the 5th Regiment. Prescott shouted, "Put on!" and spurred his horse hard to the left, over a low stone wall. He vanished into the swamp and woods. He knew this countryside. He'd grown up here. Dawes turned and galloped back, shouting at an empty farmhouse. "Hello, boys, I've got 2 of them," bluffing an ambush to scare his pursuers into thinking militiamen were waiting inside. It worked. The British hesitated, but Dawes' horse spooked and threw him in the chaos. He landed hard, lost his ride, and walked back to Lexington in the dark. Revere rode for the tree line. 6 more officers emerged from the woods, seized his horse's bridle, and put pistols to his chest. Paul Revere, the man whose name would become synonymous with the midnight ride, was captured. His horse, borrowed from Deacon Larkin, was confiscated and given to a British sergeant. Revere was interrogated at gunpoint. Major Mitchell pressed a pistol to his head and threatened to blow his brains out. But Revere didn't break. He bluffed. He told Mitchell he'd already alarmed the entire countryside, that 500 militiamen were on their way. And as the patrol rode toward Lexington, they heard it. Gunshots, a church bell ringing in the distance. The alarm was real. The officers panicked. They released their prisoners, but kept the horses. And so the most famous rider in American history became a man walking down a dirt road in the dark. No horse, no mission, just a long walk home. Meanwhile, Dr. Samuel Prescott, the 23-year-old who had joined the ride by chance, burst out of the swamp and reached Concord around 1:30 in the morning. He alerted the militia. The town bell rang. He then rode on to Acton and sent his brother Abel to warn Sudbury and Framingham. By dawn, more than 3,000 armed militiamen had assembled. When the British reached Concord, they found the weapons mostly moved. At the North Bridge, the militia, led by companies from Acton, alerted through Prescott's chain of riders, fired back. The British retreated to Boston under withering fire the entire way. 250 British soldiers were killed or wounded. The revolution had begun. And the man who carried the warning to Concord wasn't Paul Revere. So why do we remember it wrong? Because Longfellow knew exactly what he was doing. He'd read Revere's own deposition. He knew about Dawes. He knew about Prescott. He knew about the capture. 17 years after the poem was published, he told the reader to go find a more accurate version. He chose legend over history, on purpose. The country needed a myth, and he gave it one. But here's the thing. The real story, 3 riders, a spy network, a bluff at gunpoint, a country doctor jumping a stone wall in the dark, is better than the poem. Paul Revere was brave. William Dawes was resourceful. But Dr. Samuel Prescott, the man nobody remembers, is the one who finished the ride. Say his name once. Samuel Prescott, the man who finished the ride. April 18th, 1775. A night like all nights, filled with those events that alter and illuminate our times. And now, you were there. Next week, Rome, 44 BC. Julius Caesar walks into the Senate. He's been warned by a soothsayer, by his wife's dreams, by a note pressed into his hand that morning that he never bothers to read. 60 senators are waiting. You are there when the most famous assassination in history unfolds. Minute by minute, blade by blade. Subscribe so you don't miss it. If you want to see us tear down another piece of history you thought you knew, drop it in the comments. We read everyone.